My name is Ashley Hicks, and I have the honor of being the president of Junior League of the Quad Cities. And on behalf of Junior League, I want to thank you for being here tonight for That's What She Said. We're so proud to host this event in partnership with the YWCA and Sanctuary Studios for a second year in a row. And we're so honored to shine a spotlight on the incredible stories of women right here in our community. At its heart, Junior League is about women's leadership, connections, and creating meaningful change in our community. Tonight reflects all of that. We get to celebrate women's voices, learn from their experiences, and leave feeling inspired by their strength, their humor, and their honesty. I also want to thank our storytellers for their courage and their generosity in sharing their journeys with us, as well as the sponsors and volunteers who help make tonight possible. And thank you to all of you, our audience, for showing up, for supporting the speakers, and for us, for your presence means more than you will ever know. I hope you leave tonight feeling uplifted, encouraged, and proud of the women in your life and in this room. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Julie Larson, the president and CEO of the YWCA, the Quad Cities. And on behalf of the YWCA, it's a joy to welcome you to tonight's That's What She Said Quad Cities. We're thrilled to partner with Junior League of the Quad Cities and Sanctuary Studios to bring this incredible event to our community. Tonight is about the power of women's voices, real, authentic, and unapologetic. At the YWCA, our mission has always been to eliminate racism, empower women, and promote peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. Events like tonight remind us why mission matters so much. When women share their stories, whether they make us laugh, bring us to tears, or challenge us to think differently, we all grow stronger together. I want to thank our storytellers, our partners for their collaboration, and each of you for showing up tonight. Your presence affirms the importance of lifting up women's voices and building a community where everyone belongs. So settle in, be inspired, and celebrate the power of her story. And I'd like to introduce the beautiful Sarah Stevens.
Oh. I will take the beautiful Sarah Stevens anytime. Welcome, welcome, welcome back to year 2 of That's What She Said, Quad Cities. I'm Sarah Stevens, I'm your MC for the night. Last year was an incredibly powerful experience, and we all the organizers walked out of that event and said, it has to happen again, and it's happening again, and that is such a big deal to me. And it's a big deal to me that you all showed up here tonight. It's, what night is it? Is it Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay, good, thanks. Okay, so it's a Thursday night. It's toasty in here. Let's all just get that out of the way, right? We're hot, and I talk a lot about being menopausal, so I'm like extra hot. So whatever we need to do to continue to fan ourselves and cool ourselves with drinks, that's what we'll do tonight, because you're here to hear stories. In 2018, I founded the Beautiful Project, and the core of the Beautiful Project was that I wanted a storytelling collective that gave a mic to ordinary women telling extraordinary truths. A couple of years later, Jen Davis came to me and said, will you help me host a women's conference? I said, tell me more, what do you mean? And she said, I found this thing called the She Said Project, and they have these events, That's What She Said. And I said, I'm in, I'm happy to support in any way that I can, but I can't lead the charge. And Jen kept leading the charge. She kept the idea alive. And it brings us to tonight, and to the power of storytelling. And I was thinking about what I wanted to say about the power of storytelling. And I thought about this movie. It's called Shall We Dance? By Applause. Is anybody familiar? Yeah. Susan, yeah, okay, great. Good. I saw this movie several years ago, and there's one scene in particular that stands out to me. So this is a movie, it's Richard Gere, Susan Sarandon, and J-Lo. How did I forget J-Lo? Come on. The premise of the movie is this. He's like mid-50s and miserable with his life, and just wants some new interest or spark added to his days. And he ends up taking dance lessons from J-Lo. But he doesn't tell his wife that he's doing this, and so she starts to notice the differences in him, like a little spring in his step. You know, he's chatty, he's singing. And so she thinks, what? He's having an affair, right? And so she hires a private investigator to find out what he's doing, and she meets with the private investigator. They're like 3/4 of the way through the movie. And the private investigator shows, hands her the folder, and you're like, here it comes, right? But he just shows her this folder and it's pictures of her husband dancing. And so they have this conversation, and the PI is like, are you gonna stay? Because she's upset that he didn't disclose this thing to her. And she says something that I will never, ever, ever forget. She said, we all need a witness. This is the whole quote. We need a witness to our lives. There are 1 billion people on the planet. What does any one life really mean? But in a marriage, you're promising to care about everything. The good things, the bad things, the terrible things, the mundane things, all of it. All of the time, every day. You're saying your life will not go unnoticed because I will notice it. Your life will not go unwitnessed because I will be your witness. I would like to maintain that this is not just about marriage. It is part of the human condition, part of the human relationship to need a witness. And that's why you're here tonight, to bear witness to these women and their stories and their strength and their bravery and their courage. And I could not do this without you. We could not do this without you. So thank you for being here. Without further ado, I would like to welcome one of my favorite firecrackers, Katie Thompson. Katie Thompson is a living example of what happens when you say yes to your dream. Her journey began in junior high with a well-worn copy of a life-changing book and a heart full of big, beautiful questions. Today, Katie is the executive director of a national nonprofit, the founder of the Dream Discovery series, and the proud owner of The Clothing Company, a modern boutique in LeClaire, Iowa, built around the concept of bringing multiple small businesses together under one roof. Backed by a business degree and a master's in organizational leadership and coaching, Katie blends practical tools with heart-centered insight to help women move from dreaming to doing. Her life and work are rooted in love, community, and a deep commitment to service. Whether she's leading volunteers across borders, mentoring entrepreneurs, or curating meaningful experiences through food and conversation, Katie creates spaces where women feel seen, supported, and inspired to grow. Her talks are infused with warmth, humor, and an honest invitation to step into your dream life. Because if you can see it, you can start living it. She starts every morning with a Celsius. Do you have a death wish, man? Ends most nights yelling answers at Wheel of Fortune, and is always planning her next gathering with the people she loves the most. Katie lives by the motto of design your life, and she encourages you to live loudly. So let's welcome Katie loudly to the stage.
I am a walker while I talk, so I'm hoping that this is okay. Alright, do you mind? Alright, let's do it. If you know me, you know that I love a celebration. Tuesday, let's get cake. My daughter loses a tooth, we should celebrate that. The lost t-shirt out of the laundry deserves a little celebration. We're talking about holidays and birthdays, I'm all the way in, and if we're talking about my girlfriends reaching for their dreams, we're going to celebrate. But my favorite celebration every year is my wedding anniversary. It's a time for sunshine, hiking, too much food, good drinks, but most importantly, it's a pause, a reminder, and a reset for why Chuck and I chose each other. Last year, we celebrated in Kona, Hawaii. We enjoyed all of those things, excessively. But we took a day and we walked downtown. So we're walking downtown, enjoying the ocean views and shopping, and I stopped dead in my tracks and I said, Chuck, why wham ships? He said, cool, Katie, and keeps walking. But much like you guys aren't putting the correlation together of what YWAM ships meant to me and what it meant to my heart. So we're gonna take a journey back. You willing to go with me? I want you to think about yourself when you were 11, 12 years old. Likely bad music choices, questionable clothing, haircuts, iffy, Hopefully you were done with your one eyebrow look by that stage. For me, I was in Joy, Illinois, a town of 300 people, graduating class of 28, so this section right here. And I love to read. So while I was reading a book and I got engulfed in one of the authors, I found this book about a woman who went on global missions. She gave her life to volunteerism. She boarded a ship called Mercy Ships and would spend her time in countries and underserved areas on medical missions. I was enamored with her story, and what it did was it gave me power to research Mercy Ships. So again, age-wise, think back to 12, I sat down at my big clunky computer, the dial-up tone started to go, you know, that good noise telling you you're almost there. And I started my research, and I deep dove into Mercy Ships. I was totally going to do it. Definitely. Going to board a ship, go on a medical mission, and travel the world. And then it happened. My guess is it's happened to you at some point too. You said, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm most excited about. This is what I'm going to achieve. And then it started to churn. The negative self-talk. I can't leave my town of 300 and travel the globe. I'm not going to leave my family behind. This is too big. It's too scary. I'm not enough for that. So I reworked my dream. I shrunk it. We need local volunteers. I'm not going to tell you that we don't. So I started volunteering locally. And I ended up taking my college career and transitioning into the nonprofit world and served here in the Quad Cities for several years. That was my version of Mercy Ships. I would give my time here, serve underserved people and communities, and love the life that I was living. Now, I was so excited for this part of my career, so I want you to buckle up because it is fantastic. There's nothing a nonprofit executive dreams of more than when their boss commits federal fraud and they get to be the whistleblower. Right? Dream life. So after that plug was pulled, the negative self-talk came back. Maybe I'm not meant for this type of work. Maybe I should shift my way of thinking completely. And so I became an entrepreneur. I loved it, still love it, and dream of that life for many of you as well. But something was missing. Do you know when you're doing something that you enjoy, but there's still that deep-seated feeling? It starts in your heart, you feel it in your belly, and then your brain starts to tick, and something's missing, and you're trying to figure out what that missing puzzle piece is, and you can't always put your thumb on it. So my journey for finding this missing puzzle piece was to say, I'm going to be a college professor. I've always dreamed of being in education in some capacity. So I go back to the computer, this time laptop, no dial-up tones going on, and I start looking for a position to be an adjunct professor. And this job keeps popping up to the top for a part-time executive director in a nonprofit. My nonprofit people in here right now are saying, part-time executive director, these aren't adding up. That's beside the point. The part-time work, of which I ended up getting hired for, turned out to be my dream work. I didn't think I'd get emotional. It turned out to be my dream work because I get to go on global missions. I take volunteers to multiple countries here in the United States as well and serve the underserved. But it wasn't until we were in Kona that life came full circle and the puzzle piece made sense. The work that we do in the nonprofit that I run, we work with an organization called Homes of Hope. I want you to think of this as a little ladder system. Homes of Hope serves under an organization, YWAM. YWAM operates YWAM ships. Mercy ships and YWAM ships are one and the same. I'm doing the work that my 12-year-old self dreamed of, just didn't know it. My journey wasn't linear. I didn't know the exact path that would get me there, and I didn't think that it was going to happen. But the mission found me anyway, And that's the reminder that I want to leave you with. The dream inside you, the purpose that you felt when you were young, it doesn't just disappear. It might not look the way that you thought it would look when you were your 12-year-old self. There's going to be twists, there's going to be detours, there might be some full-on crashes. But the mission, the calling, it doesn't just go away. Here's the thing, if you invite it to stay, it's going to find you. The magic isn't just in the big, I made it moment. It's in celebrating the steps along the way. It's in the lost tooth and the t-shirt and the random Tuesday. Because when you can learn to celebrate the small moments, the bigger moments of that journey unfolding, you're honoring each bit of the puzzle and of the story. That version of you, that little one with that wild and crazy dream, she's still in there and she's waiting on you. She's not waiting for perfection. She's not waiting for clarity. She's waiting for you to have the courage to show up and say yes to yourself. So you need to decide, are you going to wait until you have it figured out? Are you going to start taking the small steps now to achieve your dream and celebrate along the way? Because the dream isn't going to come in a straight line. I'm living proof of that. It's going to come through every bold, messy, and beautiful move that you make. And I mean it when I say that I celebrate. Tomorrow I will celebrate my 39th birthday. Next week I'll celebrate my 10th wedding anniversary. And the following week I will celebrate taking 45 volunteers on an international mission trip. The thing that my 12-year-old self dreamed about doing. She would be so incredibly proud. My challenge for you, what are you going to do to honor the dreamer inside of you? Thank you.
I don't know what it says about me that I wanted to be Smurfette until I was 11, but that's what's true. I was thinking, as she was talking, I was like, what did I want to be? I was like, Smurfette, and then an attorney. I don't know, things got real serious at my house, apparently. Raise your hand if you remember what your little boy self wanted to be. Stage lights I can't see, but I have a feeling there are a lot of men's rings. You are still here and you are still breathing, so that dream isn't dead. Next up, we have Sister Ashley Nicole Andre, MSEP, ACM, CPT. We'll have to ask her to define what those things are. She is a mother of 2 boys and a dog named Blossom. She has lived in the Quad Cities since 2008. Prior to her family moving here, she grew up in Helena, Arkansas, and was born in Detroit, Michigan. She has been the owner of Fed Faith Exercise Diet LLC since 2022. Her career involves personal training in addition to health and wellness coaching. She holds the honor as the first African-American woman to graduate from St. Ambrose University's Master of Science in Exercise Physiology graduate program in 2022. She is a Christian and a member of New Birth of the Victory Temple in Rock Island, Illinois. Her faith in God is the foundation of her being and business. Her hobbies include spending time with family and friends, making meaningful connections, and exploring the world. Help me welcome Sister Ashley Nicole Andre to the microphone.
When a Black woman makes history. Just days before she made history, she answered the phone while her feet were being pedicured. He spoke these exact words: "I have a girlfriend, she's better than you." At 8:31 a.m. on Friday, July 22nd, 1994, the last of 5 children was born in Detroit, Michigan, to a Black Army veteran from Southside Chicago and a Black Southern homemaker She had dark eyes and dark hair, yet her smile would be the sunshine of every room that she graced. She had just the slightest memory of living in Motor City, best known to the Black community as the birthplace of Motown Records. She was shielded from the violence that often surrounded her by her family as if she was a young duckling. Her family made the decision to move during the summer of her 4th year of life. She has a vague memory of being packed in a van and riding for hours to the southern region of the country. When her family arrived to the small Delta town, now known as Helena, West Helena, Arkansas, she was able to finally meet her maternal grandmother. Her only living grandparent at the time was the epitome of a Native American Black woman from the South. She instilled in her the importance of having faith in God as she often prayed, read her Bible, and attended church service regularly. In that small southern town, she learned of the true meaning of a great childhood: innocence, exploration, and discovery. She made lifelong friendships and had her first experience in life in a predominantly Black community. She learned how to catch a fish and other survival skills. However, her time in the South was somewhat short-lived when her family decided to venture back to the Midwest. She has vivid memories of that long drive to the state of Iowa, known for its fields of opportunities. She was a new girl her freshman year at Davenport Central High School, where she continued to make lifelong friendships. During the summer of 2008, she met who she thought would be her Prince Charming. Over the span of her relationship with him, she learned that life is not a fairy tale. She didn't know much of his history, being that she was a new girl, in addition to him being quite guarded and closed off in conversations about his upbringing. Yet she saw a light in him that would eventually turn to darkness. She was a gifted being, known as one of the most intelligent students in classes that she attended. Her education was and still is a priority in her life. In 2012, she graduated high school in the top 10% of her class and was accepted to Boston University with a full tuition scholarship. In the summer of 2012, she made her first flight alone to attend summer orientation in Boston, Massachusetts. She went to her first concert on the campus of Boston University in the fall of 2012. Her freshman year as an undergraduate at Boston University was one of the most challenging years of her life. She had decided to start her higher level of education diving headfirst into pre-medicine studies. She had left him behind in the Midwest to pursue her dreams. During the holiday break between semesters of her freshman year of college, when she returned home to her family, she had unknowingly conceived their first child. Shortly after her return to Boston, she discovered that she was carrying their first child. However, the medical provider who delivered this news to her told her to pursue her dreams without the burden of raising a child. During her time in Boston, she had survived the Nemo blizzard, Hurricane Sandy, and the Boston Marathon bombing. So she decided to return home upon completion of her freshman year at Boston University. She put her education on hold to take on the responsibility of being a Black mother, coming from a childhood of being raised by Black women. In the spring of 2015, she transferred to St. Ambrose University to continue her pre-medicine studies. She became his wife on January 22nd, 2016, before their first child turned 3 years old. In 2018, she began working in healthcare, shadowing and working alongside emergency medicine physicians who encouraged her to pursue a career in healthcare. In the spring of 2019, she graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Biology with minors in chemistry and psychology. During her senior year, they had been trying to conceive their second child in hopes of growing their family, yet they were unsuccessful. She applied for graduate school in the meantime while she was working and raising a child. She began St. Ambrose University's Master's of Science in Exercise Physiology graduate program in the summer of 2019. They had also conceived their second child during the summer of 2019. She continued her studies, continued to work, and continued to raise their first child. On Thursday, March 12th, 2020, At 36 weeks of gestation, she was told by her OB/GYN that she had preeclampsia and that she was in active labor. She called him soon after she arrived in a labor and delivery unit, yet he was working in a different state and was unable to witness the birth of their second child. Her sister and friends sat there in support of this traumatic situation. While holding her newborn child, she watched the news outlets announce the COVID-19 pandemic government shutdown on Monday, March 16, 2020. She was discharged from the hospital with her newborn child to go home and raise her children mostly alone in an isolated world. She returned to complete her graduate studies in the spring of 2022. She graced the stage on Saturday, May 21st, 2022, as a degree candidate for a Master of Science in Exercise Physiology. She completed the requirements of this degree by passing her comprehensive exam in the summer of 2022, the same summer that she petitioned for dissolution of marriage from him. She was conferred her degree on August 12, 2022, as the first African-American woman to graduate from St. Ambrose University's Master of Science in Exercise Physiology program. At that time, on that date, she did not realize that she had made history. She started her business, Fed Faith Exercise Diet LLC, as an exercise physiologist in September of 2022. Her dissolution of marriage was finalized on May 22nd, 2023, after over a decade of mental and physical domestic abuse. She earned her American College of Sports Medicine Certified Personal Trainer certification in September of 2024. She now raises 2 Black boys and a dog named Blossom in her Davenport home, as she continues to affect change through the work she performs, her involvement in the community, and last but certainly not least, her faith in God. She is Sister Ashley Nicole Andre. She is me. Thank you.
She is me. We're so conditioned to take the things that we've accomplished and pretend like someone else did them, right? She is her. She is me. All right, next up, we have Kelly Cadenza. Kelly is a professional, let me try that in English, a professional boudoir and portrait photographer based in Davenport, Iowa. With over a decade of experience behind the camera, Kelly is passionate about empowering women to embrace their bodies and find confidence through self-expression. As the owner of Kelly Cadenza Boudoir, she specializes in creating bold, transformative images that capture the strength and beauty of every client. Kelly's approach is rooted in the belief that every woman deserves to feel powerful and unapologetically herself. Amen. Both in front of the camera and in everyday life. Please help me welcome Kelly to the microphone.
So this is the first time that I've actually spoken in front of an audience like this. And although I'm pretty comfortable doing this, I was kind of thinking about all the advice people give you, how to not be nervous. And I was thinking about the phrase, just picture the audience in their underwear. But to be really bold, I've actually seen quite a few of you in your underwear. And in some cases, even less than that. Hi, I'm Kelly, and I am a boudoir photographer. And if you are not familiar with what boudoir is, it is an 18th century term that was used to describe a woman's private dressing or sitting room. So I photograph women in their underwear, and in many cases, completely nude. And so I know somebody is out there right now thinking, wait, she does that for a living? Followed by, oh my gosh, there is no way I could ever do something like that. So I promise you I used to be that person. And this is absolutely not what I pictured doing as a career. I was actually a middle school music and special ed teacher all the way up until 2018 when I left the classroom to chase a dream. And I mainly shot weddings, but during the pandemic, I found myself with a ton of free time and a lot of canceled weddings. And so I started thinking about how I've always wanted to start a boudoir business and what it would take to start that. So in 2021, I made the shift to focus almost entirely on portrait photography, headshots, but mostly boudoir. And I now own a private studio right here in the Quad Cities in Davenport. And I want to share with you what I've learned about photographing women in an intimate way, but also photographing women during some of the most vulnerable and tough times in their life. So first of all, boudoir is so much more than sexy photos. So many people don't really see past that sometimes, and there are many reasons why someone may choose to do a boudoir shoot. A lot of these women are coming to me after divorces, after cancer, after and before reconstructive surgery, and definitely after trauma. And what they all have in common is they all want to be seen. This career has completely transformed how I see other people and how I see myself. When people view my portfolio and they see all of the gorgeous women, here's what most people don't realize. Every single woman who comes into my studio is really nervous. And almost every single one of them says some version of, I hate how I look in photos. Please don't photograph my stomach. Can you hide my arms? I hate my body. And the reality is that almost every single person you know has body insecurities. Even the models you see on Instagram, or maybe you just pass by another woman at Target and you think, oh my gosh, I wish I looked like her. Even she has something that she wants to hide. But here's the beautiful part. These women that come to my studio are all different sizes, ages, and they're at all different points in their lives. And they show up scared. They get in front of the camera, and sometimes for the first time in their life, they finally see themselves as more than a checklist of flaws. We've been raised in a culture that tells us that our worth is tied to our appearance. That we need to lose weight, or change in some way, or to be lovable or valuable. That we can't be photographed until we hit a goal weight, until our hair grows back, until we look ready. And women, especially moms, where are my moms at out here? Moms tend to disappear from their own stories. We make sure our kids are in every photo. We document every birthday, every band concert, every dance recital, every trip, but we often don't get in the photo ourselves. We say, I'll be in the next one. Or, I don't like how I look today, just take it of the kids, I'll just watch. But sometimes the next photograph never comes. My son is going to be 18 this March, and I don't have that many photos of us together. And this is honestly sad and often pretty common with moms because we also never know when we're gonna leave this world. And one thing I've learned as a photographer is that when someone passes away, the first thing that people do is they look for photos. And they aren't thinking about how you look in that photograph, they're posting the memories and how those memories felt. So ladies, get in the damn photo. It's okay not to love every single thing about your body. It's also okay to not love every photo of yourself. And in my studio, we talk pretty openly about that when a client comes in. We talk about what they like about themselves and maybe some of the things that they're still trying to accept about their bodies. It's not really about pretending to be confident. It's about choosing to show up anyhow. So please, get in the photo. You do not need to be fixed or perfect to be part of your own story. Here's the best example I can give you. Have you ever looked at a photo of yourself from 10, 15, 20 years ago and thought to yourself, damn, I was hot back then? But do you remember how hard you were on yourself? Because I do. I remember looking back at photos of myself when I was 20. I was probably 50 pounds lighter than I am now. And I remember when I was that age thinking that I was fat. But now when I look back, I don't see what was wrong with me. I just see a girl who deserved to feel beautiful. So that's why getting in the photo matters. Years from now, you are going to look back at today's photo with much kinder eyes. So here's the challenge that I want to leave you with tonight. Obviously, I would love if everyone came and visited me in my studio, even if it's just for a headshot, but I know that's a jump. So the next time that somebody takes out their phone or a camera, get in the photo. Even if you feel awkward, even if your hair is a mess, even if you really don't want to, just get in the photo. And then, when you see that photo, I want you to say one kind thing to yourself, just one kind thing. Because 10 years from now, you are not going to care that your jeans were a little tight, that your makeup wasn't done, that the angle was not very flattering. You will just be glad that you showed up. You will be glad that there's a record of you living your most badass, authentic life. So all you need to do is show up, because sometimes that's the most radical and powerful thing a woman can do. Thank you. What's happening on top of my head. Are we gonna be okay? You do not need to be fixed or perfect to be part of your own story. That's what she said. That's what she said. Oh my God. I didn't need to do that. No, really, I'm gonna make it awkward. You do not need to be fixed or perfect to be part of your own story. You do not need to be or perfect to be part of your own story. One more time, I want to hear it really loudly. You do not need to be fixed or perfect to be part of your own story. Today, be part of your own story today. Next up, we have Viminda Shafer. Viminda has been connected to the field of education for over 25 years. She spent the bulk of that time working with middle and high school students in special education programs. Viminda joined the staff of the project in 2018 as the VOCA and LGBTQ coordinator. In her current role as the project's community relations and development coordinator, Viminda's passion for education and social justice work comes together, allowing her to push for equity, provide community education, and connect people to resources. She also serves on the board of directors for Iowa Safe Schools, is the president of the Sherrard Soccer Club, one of the leaders of her daughter's 4-H club, and is a member of the United Methodist Illinois Great River Conference, LGBTQ inclusion team. In their free time, Viminda likes to spend time with her family, craft, and think about ways to take down the patriarchy. Viminda is a proud queer Filipina and resides in a small country village in Illinois with her wife and her daughter. Please help me welcome Viminda to the microphone.
Hello. I'm actually going to put this on the stand. So I do some public speaking. And I typically don't use a mic. And there. I think that's it. Okay.
I also have a big teacher voice, so I don't know what you'll hear first, my voice or the mic. Somebody can help. Okay, I just need to see, I brought 2 copies because I didn't know how much light I would have. I'm gonna use the bigger one. So I can see with my eyes. All right, good evening. And I can see none of you. So this is different and not what I envisioned in my head. But thank you for being here tonight. I would like to thank Junior League, the YWCA, Sanctuary Studios, for inviting me to share a small part of my story with you, alongside these other fantastic and amazing folks. I would also like to uplift my cousin Grace in the Philippines. Is this the recording? Yes. Ate. I see you. I keep you in my heart. You are worthy of the love you have. I was not gonna get choked up, my gosh. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever let someone try and take that love away from you. Okay, hi, my name is Viminda, and I am Filipina and Latvian. I am queer, I am agender, and I am also a mom, and a daughter, and a wife, and a friend, a social justice warrior, and an educator. I am the culmination of experiences throughout my life that has brought me to you on this stage. When I thought about the nugget I wanted you to take away from hearing my story, it didn't present itself right away. Sure, it's a story of someone finding themselves in a world hell-bent on keeping them in a box. It's a story about the power of authenticity and showing up for yourself. But I know every single person in this room shares that story in some way. So as my story unfolds, I know it might look different than yours. It might be a story so utterly inconceivable to you because you've never questioned or had to defend your gender or gender identity. But I want you to know that I see you. There, I see you. I see your story behind your eyes, and it's a story worth sharing. You are a story worth sharing. So get in. We're going gendering. Growing up, I was the quiet kid in class. I was the wallflower and the rule follower. I knew my place, how to behave, and I feared disappointment through failure. But I was observant, with these really good eyes I have. I listened between the lines and I saw the unspoken rules. I grew up in a world where Barbie was the ideal and being a nice girl who represented her family and her culture was expected and demanded. I also knew that there were parts that didn't quite fit. The world was rubbing against my brain in ways that made it itch. In elementary school, a few things happened. One, I knew girls were beautiful in a way that I probably shouldn't notice. But they were also too much. They were too loud, too talky, too dramatic, too much chaos. I also noticed that my white friends didn't have the same things I did. Where are your lanterns that are red hanging from your ceiling? What do you mean you don't have a whole pig roasting in your backyard, in a hole your Tito and Kuya's dug? And 3, I wasn't comfortable in clothes. Period. They felt too confining. Girls' pants cinch at my waist, and girl shirts, even now, are too tight in my arms. but I needed to wear clothes. So I normalized it in my brain. Eventually, my parents took me to the non-girls section, and boy howdy did my body rejoice. Finally, clothes that fit me and the way my body liked. As I got older and my body grew in places, I observed the different ways people interacted with me. I learned that if I adjusted my behavior and outward appearance, I could navigate situations and environments with better outcomes. In college, when I had to take my car to the shop, if I wore a tank top and shorts versus sweats and a t-shirt, I would get better service. While the mechanics assumed I was dumb and knew nothing about cars, they were very nice to me. They let me ask all kinds of questions, and they answered them for me. Quite the opposite happened when I was wearing sweats and a t-shirt. They didn't allow me as much grace when I asked questions, and they weren't nearly as accommodating. That scenario played out over hundreds of interactions, and still does today. When I dress my body in a way that is expected, when I soften the way I speak and adjust my vocabulary, when I acquiesce to the male conversation, I get a lot of shit done. This is what I call performing gender, and I've been doing it at least 35 years. To be clear, performing gender is a survival skill. It is not something I do to manipulate folks or situations intentionally. It is a tactic that has and will continue to keep me safe. But there was a time when I was young where I really struggled with reconciling who I was and who I was meant to be and who I was expected to be. And I find that I still struggle with that. But I've just come to appreciate and rely on the dichotomy that exists in my brain. I now understand the lens in which I view the world and in which the world views me. I understand the expectations that are part of me that are based upon my external image versus how I think or don't think about my gender. I do love a good feel though. But don't be fooled. I am not always put together. Even now, as a grown person, I find myself wondering if I'm too much or not enough. Am I too girly to be a gender? Does adorning my body with pink and rainbows and glitter and sparkle negate the fact that when I think about who I am, I feel neither feminine nor masculine? I wonder if I'm Asian enough or am I white enough? Neither group claims me, so I exist as an island lost in the vast sea. But I can honestly say that I am queer enough. I've even been accused of being too queer. Shocking and rude, I know. So here's my nugget or two for you. In a world where there are so many expectations placed on us based on arbitrary and nonsensical guidelines, dare to be you in all the big and small ways, and dare to uplift other people. As I always ask, what does it cost to be kind? Thank you.
The wardrobe change was a surprise to me, and I was like, that bad bitch. Surprise. Also, can we give a round round of applause for her ability to just confidently put on her shoes while standing in front of 150 people. Sorry, that was brave. That was brave. Thank you, Viminda. Next up is Miracle Martensen. Miracle is a 20-year-old entering her junior year at Mount Mercy University in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where she is pursuing a double major in psychology and social work. Her passion for helping others is rooted in her own life story. Having overcome adversity in her childhood, Miracle developed a deep sense of empathy and resilience that fuels her desire to show others that they are more than their past, that healing is possible, and their challenges do not define them. In addition to her academic pursuits, Miracle is a student athlete, proudly representing Mount Mercy on the university's lacrosse team. Ooh, I like it, okay. We have some lacrosse enthusiasts to my right. She was also an active volleyball player throughout high school. Beyond athletics, Miracle is involved in campus clubs and organizations that align with her commitment to personal growth and community engagement. She balances her studies, sports, work, and extracurriculars with grace, always striving to be her best self and to uplift those around her. Help me welcome Miracle. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. What's the meaning behind your name? Is by far the most asked question I have heard in my 20 years of living. Throughout the years, I've gone back and forth between telling them that there really is no original meaning, or telling them the long story of how I gained the meaning of my name at the ripe age of 15 years old. I have since come to realize that I never had a specific moment that put meaning behind my name, but that I've actually been gaining it my entire life. My parents separated about a year after I was born. My mother moved on and gifted me with 2 younger siblings. My father got married to my amazing stepmom, bringing me 3 more little siblings. My siblings have been my pride and joy for as long as I can remember. My 7th grade teacher once asked me why. Why I acted the way I did in class, why I was such a loud student, why I sought attention in the fashion that I did. I have spent years also asking myself a variety of questions like these. Questions that would degrade who I am as a person, and was as a person, often not considering the battles I had fought to get through. I became a victim of sexual assault at the age of 9 years old. The abuse didn't end until I was 13. I will always remember asking myself why someone would ever do such a thing, knowing it would affect me for the rest of my life. When people find out something like this happened to you, they look at you differently, they speak softer, offer more support, doing whatever they can to try and make you feel better, even though nothing really will. My mother had a hard time handling the emotions that came along with the honesty of everything I had endured the past few years. Some emotional burdens are just too mentally and physically challenging to work through. In 2022, about 176,000 individuals used methamphetamine, starting as early as age 12. My mother unfortunately became a part of this number in 2018. As I was young and didn't understand the system, I continued to lie for her. I continued to pee in cups when she asked me to, and I continued to raise my 2 siblings, mostly on my own, at the age of 13. I didn't understand why she was doing all these things to me. She knew I was struggling, but would place the blame on me for everything, knowing guilt was the fastest way to get to my little heart that had such deep care for those that I loved. I had the help of my grandmother, but she had to continue to work extremely long days as we had moved in with her after the sexual abuse. I recall the first time DCFS ever questioned me. I had told my sister to lie, otherwise we would be split up and have to live with strangers. I asked them why they were there. Why would someone call them to check in on us? We were fine. After visits continued from DCFS for over a year, I finally pulled her aside the last time they came and told her it was time to be honest. We were taken from our mother's care about a week after my 15th birthday. My two siblings, Ella and Jace, moved in with my Aunt Steffi, and I continued to live with my grandmother. Shortly after this, my grandma broke her leg, so I was there to provide her the extra care that she needed after undergoing surgery. I took care of her for about a month, still visiting my father's house every other weekend. I was left silent on August 10th, 2020, when a tree came crashing down in my front yard, bringing me down with it. I had been visiting my father's house for the weekend for his birthday and was heading back to my grandmother's house. As we were leaving my small town, my stepmom and I decided to turn around as the wind was picking up just to be safe, or so we thought. I called my grandmother once we pulled into the driveway to let her know that it would be a while before we headed that way, as it was storming, making sure to let her know that I loved her. The last thing I remember. I was getting out of the car when one of the 4 pine trees in my front yard snapped, crashing into the family car, hitting me and my dog Chloe. The highest wind speed reached 150 miles per hour this day. I was airlifted to Iowa City after my stepmom finally got a hold of 911 after calling for 45 minutes, since the lines had been struck down and were no longer working. They found I broke 19 bones, leading me to undergo 2 major surgeries in 48 hours. I spent 15 days in the hospital asking myself why. I don't remember anything from this day or multiple after. I spent many weeks in a wheelchair, learning how to do things like walk, conquer stairs, and even shower. The accident led me to miss all of my sophomore year to recover physically and mentally. Luckily, COVID allowed me to do all of my schooling online and not fall behind. I heard the word lucky a lot during this time. It became extremely upsetting at times, not understanding how someone could look at the things I had gone through and only think of how lucky I was. I didn't die, I'm not paralyzed, I only needed 2 surgeries, and I have such a great support system. While all of this is true, my 15-year-old self, who was already trying to navigate all the hardships I had faced in my young years, didn't understand why no one understood me. I found myself struggling to hold long-term friendships, often jumping from friend group to friend group, seeing where I would fit in best. I never quite found a place where I was happiest during this time. I was struggling with my mental health due to my accident and being separated from my siblings months prior. Once I finally returned to school my junior year, I realized that no one really knew what happened to me. The questions began to roll in, and unfortunately, along with those questions came jokes. At this time, I used humor as my main form of coping, so I was just rolling with the punches. After all, if I'm making jokes about my own trauma, why can't everyone else, right? It was easier for me to let the anger build up and lash out all at once during this time. I would let the jokes roll in, I would let friends come and go, and I would do nothing about it. I didn't need anyone to know who I really was on the inside if I hadn't even figured it out myself yet. Once I got accepted into college, I knew this would be my chance to move to a new city and create someone that no one back home knew. I was able to build friendships off of who I truly was, not my mother, not my assaults, and surely not my accident. I moved into Mount Mercy 3 weeks early as an opportunity had arose that would allow me to take my first college course for free, get my first year textbooks for free, and explore the campus as a first-generation college student. Once I began this psychology course, I found my love for psychology and how people's minds work. I decided I wanted to study psychology and social work. A week after official classes had begun, I was walking through the campus university center when a coach pulled me aside and asked if I was athletic. I had played sports my whole life, but my accident had definitely set me back on my athleticism. But like I said, I no longer wanted to be known for my accident, so I told her that I was. She asked if I'd ever heard of lacrosse, to which I said no, but she invited me to come try out anyway. I gained a starting position on a first-year lacrosse program as a first-generation student, making history. It took me over 2 years to find what I really wanted in family friendships, family relationships, romantic relationships, and friendships. It felt like I was being mean at first when I started setting boundaries, as I used to be told I was asking too much of people. In reality, I was never asking too much, I was just asking the wrong people. I am not my mother, who couldn't give me what I needed, or the friends who made me feel worthless, nor am I the boyfriend who made me feel oh so small. I am much more than all of the people who made me ask myself why all of the time, especially the ones who felt the need to ask me themselves. The reason why I do it all is because I have proven to myself time and time again that I am capable of miraculous things. I will continue to fight through every battle because there are people that need me, and I deserve to live a life that beats the odds. I am not just any old statistic, but as my grandma always says, I really am a miracle. Miracle indeed, right? A miracle indeed. Resilience is one of my favorite characteristics to find in people, and I find that most people have a ton of it, but I'm always astounded when a 20-year-old, right, shows up with that kind of presence, so a miracle indeed. Next, we have the gift of Dr. Yolanda Grandberry Pugh, who has been a dedicated educator for 24 years. She grew up in Rock Island, Illinois, and graduated from Rock Island High School, where she has taught for 18 years. After high school, she received her associate's degree from Heartland Community College, bachelor's degree from Illinois State University, master's degree from the University of Memphis, educational specialist degree from Capella University, and her doctorate in education in K-12 educational leadership from Western Illinois University. In addition, she has presented professional workshops in her field on various topics, helping students become better readers, effective classroom management, and out-of-school factors that impact African American students' academic performance for local organizations and throughout the state of Illinois. Furthermore, she created and is a current co-sponsor of the African American Heritage Club at Rocky. This club focuses on students learning the positive aspects of African American history and culture, promotes leadership, education, and community service. Dr. Grandberry Pugh also created the 100 Professionals Career Day for Rocky. This event was started in 2022, takes place annually, and gives Rock Island High School students an opportunity to learn about the multiple career options available to them after graduation. Yolanda is also married to Tracy Pugh. They were united in holy matrimony in 2013. The couple continues to build a happy life together while serving their community. Help me welcome Dr. Yolanda.
Good evening. That was a lot. I know that that's me, but that's still a lot to hear about yourself. Okay, so it is an honor and a privilege to be Dr. Yolanda Grandberry Pugh. However, getting here was not easy. And I am extremely blessed to be standing in this space and to be living this life. I have faced many challenges. Each one took a little piece of me, but I'm still standing. At the age of 4, my father was shot in our home by my mother. There was domestic violence in my home, and so that was the end result. The next morning after it happened, my grandmother walked into the room that me and my older brother were sleeping in, and she just simply said, "Your mom shot your dad last night," and walked out of the room. My brother and I sat there amazed, stunned, not quite sure what to say or how to respond. My mother left our home when I was in kindergarten. She served 2 years in prison, and she returned as I was going into the 3rd grade. While she was gone, I accumulated some friends that she didn't necessarily approve of. And so I got to go to Washington High School for 7th grade year, but by the time I was in the 8th grade, my mother had enough of my poor decisions and she sent me to John Deere Junior High in Moline. When I got to John Deere, there were only 5 black kids in the entire school. It was a major culture shock. But it was also a shock because I had to walk to the bus stop every day after school to get on the bus to go home, when my friends at John Deere's parents picked them up in fancy new cars. That was not the case in the neighborhood that I was coming from. On top of that, due to the tragedy that happened when I was 4, the kids in Rock Island knew what had happened in my home. And so I had to deal with being teased about my mother shooting my father all the way up until the 11th grade at Rock Island High School. That resulted in a lot of fights, a lot of getting kicked out of school, and I had my last fight my junior year in high school. I was arrested, I was charged. No, I was arrested, I was charged. I had to go to court, and the judge ruled that it was self-defense because I wasn't the person that took the first punch. That experience caused me to be as quiet as a mouse my senior year at Rock Island High School. Then I wasn't quite sure where I was gonna go, but my friends were constantly talking about college and ACT scores. And so I just asked them one day at the cafeteria table what were they talking about. And that it was my friends that told me, Yolanda, you need to take the ACT. You need to start applying to go to college. We're about to graduate. And so I went to my counselor at Rocky. I told her I wanted to go to college. And she told me that I was not college material and that I needed to reconsider what I wanted to do with my life. So I waited until she left the counselor's office, and this was a time when all of the books concerning the ACT colleges was on a shelf in the counselor's office. And I went in, I got the application to take the ACT, and I got one of the books that had all of the colleges in the United States of America, and I took them home. I registered myself to take the ACT. I remember walking to Rocky. It was cold, but I got a 21. And in the 90s, that was a good score. So I got accepted to 2 colleges, Grambling and Illinois State University. Grambling was too far away, so my mother allowed me to go to Illinois State University. I got there, there was a lot going on. I hadn't had that much freedom before ever in my life. So I spent more time on the quad and at parties and social events than in my classes. So I flunked out of Illinois State. I came home, I explained it to my mother, and my mother explained to me 2 things. 1, she did not have any room in her house for me, so I couldn't come back there. And 2, I needed to go back to Illinois State to get what she sent me up there to get. And I really didn't know what to do with myself, but I went back, and friends again explained to me, you can go to a community college here in Bloomington, get your associate's degree, go back to Illinois State. And so that's exactly what I did. That's why I have an associate's degree. That wasn't the plan. After I graduated from Illinois State with my bachelor's degree in education, I moved to Memphis, got a teaching position. Life was great. I thought I was done with education until I met a friend who explained to me that I needed a master's degree. And I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm not doing that college thing ever again. And so she finally explained to me, like, I know you think that life is gonna be good with a bachelor's degree, but you're gonna need a master's degree. And I continued to refuse, and so she finally said, okay, go over to the University of Memphis, just take 1 graduate course, let's see how it goes, and we'll go from there. So I did. It got to the point where I had taken so many classes at the University of Memphis that they sent me a letter telling me that I couldn't take any more classes without declaring a major. And so I got my master's degree in leadership and policy studies in higher education from the University of Memphis. after that experience, college didn't seem so bad. It seemed doable. Like, right? You read the book, you write the paper. You read the book, you write the paper. I recognized the pattern. Also while I was in Memphis, because Memphis is a predominantly African-American city. So I started meeting all these different Black women who had doctoral degrees. And I was like, wow, I want one, right? And they was like, and you can have one if you're willing to do the work. I was like, okay, sure. So I got back home, started teaching at Rocky, pursued my doctoral degree for the first time. The educational specialist degree is actually an accident. That was my first attempt at a doctoral degree. And I was doing great. I was doing great. I was getting A's and B's, reading the book, writing the paper. And then I met Tracy. And we started dating, and we started dating more, and we started dating more. And the papers didn't seem to get done, and I ended up with an F. And so I called my advisor, I told her what was going on, and she said, okay, you've met all the requirements for the educational specialist degree. Let's just go ahead and apply for that degree, put a cap on your classes so you don't lose anything, and you come on back when you're ready. I said, okay, that'll work. That freed me up so I could date Tracy more. Okay, that works. And we've been married now 12 years. Just celebrated our 12-year anniversary of marriage. And so the doctoral degree itself is actually an accident per se. I needed curriculum and instruction classes to get my administrative degree in the state of Iowa. I didn't meet the requirements. And so I went over to Western to take care of that requirement. I met Dr. Watkins, who encouraged me to take another class with her. I enjoyed it, so I took the class with her. And then after that, she advised me to apply for the doctoral program at Western Illinois University. And I told her, I said, I don't meet the requirements. You have to be an administrator for at least 2 years to get into the program. And she told me, you let me worry about that. You go apply to get into the program. And so I did. I was the only African American in my cohort, and I was the only woman in my cohort. So all the rest of the individuals in my cohort were men, white men. Principals, assistant principals, assistant superintendents, superintendents. And I felt like I needed to bring like muffins and orange juice and coffee to our classes, and so I called Dr. Armstrong, who used to sit on the board for the Rock Island School District, and I told her what was going on with me, and she was like, do you want them to respect you? I said, yes, I do. She said, well, then you never bring muffins, coffee, and orange juice to classes because they will treat you accordingly. And so that worked out really well for me. I was doing really good, and then my mother died. 2015, my mother passed away. And she passed away while I had finished all the coursework, but it was time for me to write the dissertation. But I couldn't seem to pull myself back together. It was my husband that pointed out to me that we had sat in the house for 2 years doing absolutely nothing. And I did have to take out the time to go talk to someone over at South Psychology, South Park Psychology over behind the mall. Because I needed to get it together. And then the men from my cohort started contacting me, telling me, hey, we need you to finish your dissertation. Like, all of us have finished, but we want our whole cohort to be successful. And so they started sending me copies of their proposals and their dissertations to help me along the way. And I finally completed my dissertation in 2020. I defended well. And so that is how I became Dr. Yolanda Grandberry Pugh. But it was a journey. It was not easy. And I still have some more accomplishments to go. I still got some more goals. At this moment in time, my goal is to become a K-12 administrator. I don't know where that path is going to take me, but I know that I'm going to get on that path, and I know that it's going to take me to the next level. I know that God has given me all these gifts and talents to help other people. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use all my gifts and talents to help other people. And with Jesus Christ on my side, I'm gonna get as far as I'm supposed to go. Thank you.
Persistence in the face of barriers. Also, Tracy's out here just getting in people's educational way, isn't it? Watch out for Tracy. Persistence in the face of barriers. We do that all the time, don't we? We rarely stand up in front of 150 people and talk about it. What a gift that is. Michelle Hyde has brought her trademark enthusiasm to a variety of industries and is currently a lead learning and development instructor at MRA, training and coaching amazing folks in the Quad Cities area and beyond. Her best days involve bookstores, Broadway, brunch, farmers markets, and her niece and nephew. Help me welcome Michelle.
Good evening, everyone. So 6 years ago yesterday, my mom died. It was August 20th, a date that will never not feel layered for me and my family, because it's also my sister's birthday. And to this day, my sister swears my mom picked that exact date just to be a dick. It's a sentiment so twisted, so dark, and somehow very on brand for our family. That's just the kind of humor that has carried us through the hardest times in our lives, and it has been the best gift my family could have given me. So I grew up outside of Galesburg in a tiny town called Oneida. Go Robo Tigers. Woohoo. My family has often been compared to the early days of the sitcom Roseanne. Blue collar, hardworking dad, smart mouth mom, 3 kids, the oldest daughter, a classic overachiever. Hi. The middle daughter, perpetually annoyed and surly, and our younger brother, the cute and funny little guy with the dark hair. Our house was rarely tidy, never quiet, but always full of a whole lot of love and sarcasm. My mom hated that Roseanne comparison. Now, maybe for a few more obvious reasons, but deep down, I think she knew that it fit. She was the only one that everybody felt safe around, who could make strangers feel like family in 2 seconds flat. And the humor wasn't just in conversations. It eked into our traditions and even into her wardrobe, too. My mom was a pretty hardcore Catholic, a feminist, ally, authority questioning Catholic, but hardcore nonetheless. We had an annual ritual where we would blast Jesus Christ Superstar every Good Friday. Only Colleen Hyde could take the Bible's most tragic, brutal event and turn it into a dance party. She went through at least one, if not a few, Christmases where instead of doing a top 10 list of highlights or family brags, she kept it real. Some would say too real, listing the things that did not happen that year. I.e., Michelle did not make the dean's list again this year, and Doug, her husband, once again did not get a raise. And her wardrobe was so random. She never found herself to be fashion forward, so she went the comedy route instead, wearing random t-shirts. One of them actually read, "Bacon is meat candy." Another one was inexplicably an autographed Herman's Hermits t-shirt that, despite hundreds of washings, retained the autograph. She was diagnosed with MS back in 1992, and she was undergoing tests right in the middle of my 6th grade graduation festivities. Instead of missing the graduation ceremony because of medical testing, she showed up to volunteer with wires glued to her scalp, cracking alien abduction jokes, and hustling around like she didn't have a care in the world. As her MS progressed, she needed a wheelchair occasionally. But because she was a terribly stubborn broad, she refused to give in and wouldn't buy an actually decent one. Instead, she used a rickety relic we had to assemble each time like a piece of IKEA furniture. My sister dubbed it FDR, likening it to a giant wooden situation straight out of the 1940s. And yes, that name stuck. Hey Mom, are we taking FDR to the mall or no? Fast forward to October of 2016. 3 weeks after my dad retired from a 42-year career on the railroad, we got the news. My mom had lung cancer. I was inconsolable, but within hours, there I was wiping my tears away while snorting with laughter at my mom's text to me and my sister. Being a true boomer, homegirl loved her some Facebook. And we often laughed at vague bookers who would post cryptic status updates for attention. She began suggesting vague, melodramatic Facebook statuses about the situation that could stir the pot. Options included, not much to be thankful for this turkey day, ... and can't believe Santa left this gift under the tree. She was never gonna post them, but she knew threatening them would crack us up. My favorite card that I saw during these early days read, "When life gives you lemons," you open it up and it reads, "I promise not to tell you about my cousin who died of lemons." We howled at that one. After fighting through stage 4 cancer with all the chemo, radiation, medicine, everything that the doctors could throw at her, she chose to stop treatment and transition to palliative care. Amid the foggy ambient dreams that she was having at the time, one involving her being carried like a glittering Egyptian pharaoh, she asked me to post an update to her Facebook friends. Again, #boomer. Their tributes of love were poured in, hundreds, except for one. One guy from her high school class posted the most random meme of James Corden and Katy Perry body rolling during carpool karaoke. What the actual hell? It was gone within minutes, but the memory was immortalized. Body rolling became our family's code for an inappropriate response of any kind. That year, I got her a birthday shirt with that exact meme on it. Maybe it looked a little bit familiar tonight. She wore it constantly. Because when it rains, it pours, our old dog Baxter wasn't doing so well yet. Mom and Baxter would take turns coughing and gasping and sharing a look, and then she would deliver her favorite line at the time. "All right, death pool, who's going first?" Spoiler alert, she beat the dog by 2 weeks to the day. Her final act was just as theatrical. When it was time to transfer her to the hospice house in Peoria, she smiled wide and gave a double thumbs up from the ambulance. That was her, finding levity in the leaving. She spent 2 weeks there surrounded by immediate family, and her humor stayed sharp until she could no longer speak. One of her last lines to a nurse offering her a sponge bath was, "No, it's okay, I'm not skanky today." After her funeral, after the obligatory mass, of course, what stood out wasn't just the grief, but the stories. Everybody had a memory, and most of them were hilarious. The slideshow included both loving family portraits and a picture of her and her friends pretending to own a house decked in the worst Christmas decor imaginable. She actually posed for pictures outside of this house, pretending it was hers. I can't remember if she used it for her Christmas card that year or not, but it definitely made the slideshow. That was her, irreverent, hilarious, and just so freaking fun. She is missed every single day. And I know she'd be the first, or maybe the second, to admit that leaving us this early was a real dick move. And in the end, what my mom taught us through every diagnosis, every setback, every wildly inappropriate joke, is that levity isn't just a coping mechanism. It's a lifeline. It's how we stay connected to each other when everything feels like it's falling apart. As Victor Borge once said, laughter is the shortest distance between two people, which I hope paints the picture of how close so many people felt to my mom and how very much I miss her every single day. Thank you so much.
Levity is a lifeline. Also, I love the line, that's a dick move. I think that's amazing. Okay, last but certainly not least, we have Christiana Headley. Christiana is in recovery for breast cancer, an advocate and fierce champion of bodily autonomy and representation. After undergoing a double mastectomy in 2024, she chose to remain flat, defying societal expectations and reclaiming her body on her own terms. Since then, she has walked topless in a New York City fashion show and run a half marathon topless and proudly flat, using each moment to challenge the sexualization of women's bodies and social norms. Though she was warned she might feel broken or less feminine without her breasts, she has discovered strength, confidence, and healing beyond her cancer diagnosis and body. Her story is a bold reminder that flat closure is not something to be hidden or fixed. It is whole, powerful, and worthy of visibility. Help me welcome Christiana.
I want to start with a sentence that turns heads. I walked topless in a fashion show in New York City. I ran a half marathon that way too, but neither of those moments were about making a scene. They were about making a point about redefining what it means to be whole, what it means to be beautiful, and what it means to be enough. You see, I'm in recovery from breast cancer. I was diagnosed with stage 2 invasive globular carcinoma in December of 23. I had a double mastectomy and decided to remain flat. No reconstruction, no implants, no apologies. My body tells a story, not of what's missing, but of what I've survived. At my first meeting with my surgeon, I was offered a lumpectomy with radiation. My tumor was small, and this would be easy peasy. After researching my type of cancer and asking for an MRI, they found 2 more tumors. I instantly went from stage 1 cancer to stage 2, with a tumor that started at less than 10 millimeters in all directions and expanded to 33 millimeters. The first tumor I named Stella. Stella! And when I found out Stella was having a party with her friends, uninvited, my surgeon and I had another conversation. He assured me he could still probably perform a lumpectomy and I could keep my breasts, but one would be significantly reduced. After talking to friends who had been through this, there was also a risk of them not getting clear margins and dealing with another surgery. As I sat there in the doctor's office, medical gown open to the front, vulnerable, emotional, in a room full of strangers, I paused. I decided then and there, take it, take the breast. When I made that decision, I was told a lot of things. You will feel broken. You are going to struggle. You will not feel feminine. But here's the truth. I'm still me. I'm healthy, I'm fierce, I'm beautiful, and guess what? I don't need breasts to be any of those things. We live in a world obsessed with appearance, where breasts are idealized, sexualized, held up as part of what makes a woman a woman. We're taught from a young age to measure ourselves by impossible standards. So imagine what it feels like to lose something that society tells you defines your worth. But I realized something powerful. I was never just my breasts, and neither are you.
When I chose flat closure, it wasn't to prove a point. It was about survival, about feeling like me, about recognizing the person in the mirror. I didn't want months of additional surgery trying to recreate something I was told I needed but no longer had. And when I made that choice, something surprising happened. I didn't feel small, I felt seen. Because when you strip everything down, literally, you find out what you're made of. And I found I'm made of grit, grace, and a fire I didn't even know I had. Walking the runway in New York with my flat chest and visible scars wasn't about traditional beauty. It was about redefining it. I walked with my head held high and shoulders back and thought, this is what healing looks like. This is what wholeness looks like. Running the half marathon topless wasn't just about healing. It was for every woman who's ever questioned whether she was enough, whether she was beautiful, whether she belonged. With every mile, I sent a message. I am here. I'm strong. I'm unashamed. Let me tell you something. You are enough. You are beautiful. You belong. You always have. And it's not based on how you look or what brands you wear or how much you achieve in this life. Flat closure isn't something to be hidden or fixed. I'm not broken. It's just another way of being whole. And the more we show it, the more we speak it and normalize it, the more power we give to the next woman who's standing at that same fork in the road wondering what comes next. The truth is, 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer. But we all face moments when we question our worth because of our scars, aging, infertility, career paths, or someone else's expectations we didn't meet. Whatever your story is, I want to be someone you can look at and say, if she can do it, maybe I can too. I share my story not for attention, but for connection. Because I want to live in a world where we stop measuring a woman's value by her appearance, where we lift each other up, where we celebrate authenticity over perfection. Let's create a world where we can just be scarred, soft, bold, flat, whatever we are. Let's stop letting society define us and start defining ourselves. I didn't lose my femininity, that's a hard word. I redefined it. I didn't shrink, I expanded. I didn't disappear, I stepped forward, unafraid and flat. I am not less without my breasts. I am more authentically me. As Brene Brown said, owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing that we'll ever do. That's what I'm doing, and I hope you will too. If there's a part of you that feels like you're not enough because of something you lost or something you never had, or something someone told you was missing, please hear this. You are more than what others can see. You are more than your hardest chapter. You are already enough. So own your story, speak it, love yourself through all of it, because you're worth it. Stand up, speak out, show up as you are, because the world needs your story. Your truth, your beautiful, imperfect, powerful, authentic self. Thank you for letting me share my story.
No recap needed for that one. No recap needed. I would like to invite to the stage Ashley, Jen, Amy. Join me. Yep. Get cracking, come on. This is the committee of people who spent a year? At least a year, right? Feels like it's been in production. It could have only been a year, we just did it a year ago, so it had to have been a year. But I wanted to invite them to the stage to give us an opportunity to just thank them for their effort, their hard work in bringing this event to us tonight. So a round of applause. Okay. Yeah, let's do it now.
Hi, I have the silent auction winners. This is exciting. So what I'll do is at the very end, when we wrap, I'll go to the registration table. You meet me if I say your name. You'll pay, take the sheet down, and the girls will take care of you. So our winners are Heather Hoftender, you won the ballet basket. Mug Essentials went to Becky B. Bynum, I believe. Soup for Two went to Elizabeth Klingman. Get to the Garden is Carla Weber. Shout out to Jen. Relax and Recharge is Stephanie P. And the Best Bloody Mary is Elizabeth again. Girl, I'm coming over. Sips for Summer, Becky B. God, you guys, I love it, showing up. Squeeze the Day, Becky. Wait. Cozy Book Basket, though, is Sarah Rosie. So I'll take these sheets down there. You can meet me. I can take card or cash. Thank you guys so much for supporting us in that way as well. We really appreciate it.
Okay, one more round of applause for all of our speakers. Can you stand? Thank you so much for being here, for showing up to be a witness to these women and their lives and their courage and their bravery and their persistence and their resilience and the experience of just being human. That matters, that we witness each other in this way. So what I want you to take with you tonight are two things. The first is, we don't need a stage to witness each other. Turn toward the people in your life, the women in your life, and ask them their story. Make it safe enough for them to be able to tell you, and watch the world change. Be a witness to each other. And then next year, maybe you can come here and stand on this stage and let us witness you and your life. You are a story worth sharing. You are a story worth sharing. Thank you for your time and attention tonight. Come back and see us next year.